Hi, Natalie.
Hello, how are you? Loaded question.
Oh, oh my goodness.
We're here. We're
We're here.
here.
And I love that for us because we've been talking about doing this forever and
Yeah,
we did a little prep. There was a little prep and then and then there wasn't and here we are.
yeah, yeah. It was well, I just have this feeling that it's going to be exactly what it needs to be. And sometimes you gotta just do it and figure it out as you go.
Yeah, I think that's true. It's very appropriate. I'm a 1-3 splenic projector. So it's very appropriate to just fucking figure it out.
Yeah, and I'm a 2-5, but also splenic, so I'm good with like in the moment. But I also have a defined root, so it's kind of like
Oh, I have such defined root envy. You don't
it's
even
kind
know.
of like it helps me to have a deadline and like, oh, let's go. You gotta do it now.
Yeah, like, yes, I'm like, I feel like I'm on a little we should talk about what this show is and why we started it, but I feel like I'm on a little projector island because 'cause I'm what they call, I don't know, is it pure projector? Like, no roots, no pressure points, no motors at all. So it's like constantly trying to just figure it out without any guidance.
Yeah. And then that's maybe why they meaning the universe gave you the 3 to just be like, you know what, you're just gonna have to do it.
I think you're right, like, we're just gonna do it, and we're gonna do it out loud. So, hey, everybody, we're Natalie and Heather, and we're projectors out in the wild.
Yeah. I mean, that's literally the title is it's pretty self-explanatory to a projector probably because it's a generator world out there and we're just living in it and we're trying to live our own design and it's going to be we thought this would be a good show because it's going to be messy, it's going to be frustrating, and we're going to get bitter and but we're going to work through it together.
Yeah, we are. So we're talking about human design. I think most of you who bother to watch us figured that out. But if you didn't, human design is a modern scientific self-discovery system. It's all about learning to live into yourself and expand in ways that are authentically you and unwire, decondition all the bullshit that society told you needed. And we're not going to get all the way into all of the different types of human design here, but check me out, check Natalie out. We can give you all of the details, but projectors, which is what Natalie and I are, we're projectors are really unique. We're here to guide and lead, and we don't have the energy sources that everybody else has, and it's such a wild process that Natalie and I met in the Anchored certification program together, and we liked each other right away. We bonded, and then we're like, man, like it's hard out here on these projector streets.
Yeah, it really is. It is. And I think that's why it's important to show this because before I knew human design, I just felt like I was lazy. I mean, I literally identified as lazy, but I didn't actually not until I got married because I married a Manny Gen. And he's just like got so much energy. He's opposite of me, and you actually helped. You really helped because you were like projectors have to start with rest, and I was like,
Yes.
so like I've always felt like I have to rest before I can do the things. And he's like, I'll do the things and then I'll rest. And so I always felt super lazy. I grew
Yeah.
up with a projector dad and a manifestor mom. So I didn't necessarily have that conditioning as a kid, which is cool.
That is cool. Yeah. So my partner is a manifester, and manifestors have to rest, but they rest after. It's a rest cycle. You know,
Yeah.
I'm getting my haircut tomorrow, and I cannot wait. All I want to do is just like hide. Um, but yeah, projectors, we have to rest first, and that's so anti society.
Mhm.
It's and I think so. I'm hoping that maybe some people who like and know, maybe even love projectors will watch us as well, not just projectors, is it's really important for every other type
Yeah.
to know that we have to rest first, that we don't operate like everybody else does. We have to rest way more. Like, I don't know how often you just nap, but I nap a lot, like quick nap. was 15 minutes early to pick my daughter up from school last Friday. And I was like, okay, lock the door, set a timer so that I'm actually sitting up when she walks out of the school, and literally took a 12-minute nap on the side of the street in the car.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been known to take a little car snooze. I mean, I'm the one that's I don't like to drive because I want to nap while I can. It's like a real thing where I have to stop what I'm doing in the afternoon. Sometimes it's earlier than that, and
Yeah.
go lay on the couch. I can't sit. This isn't it. I have to be horizontal. I have to be laying down and at least closing my eyes. But like
Mhm.
I have to sleep or else I can't do the things.
That's how
It's
I am.
often.
And I used to always fight that. So yours was that you were lazy. My story has always been you don't work hard enough. And it is rearing its ugly head right now in a really, really big way. So it's the same
Mhm.
thing, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
You just don't work hard enough. You could be working all the time. You could be showing up in all these 1,000 different ways, and then you would have what you want, but you don't have what you want because you don't work hard enough. And I'm like, that's not true. It's not true, but it feels really true. Like we just both did Julie's hypno breathwork session for, bigness. And I was like, what? Why am I still doing this? Why is this still showing up? Like everybody else can build their life on their own terms and be super successful. And you can help them do that, but you can't do it, Heather.
Yeah, that's just a block. There, I wonder if you have. Do you ever feel like you have a part of you that isn't integrated? Curious.
Oh, I like it. Natalie's bringing in the parts integration. Yeah, maybe.
Does
Do you
it
wanna-
feel right to you? Because mine was so hidden that I didn't realize she existed until I was asked a question, and I was like, okay. So the question was,
I'm
who
like,
in your life? There's the question. Who in your life is not comfortable with you getting bigger, getting more successful? Is there anyone around you? And I was like, well, think about that for a second, right?
okay.
Like, does
Yeah.
anyone come to mind? I mean, you don't have to blast them if they do.
No, I mean, maybe a couple of people do.
Okay.
Yeah.
My realization was it's me.
Well, it's me too. Like, yes, and for
Yeah,
sure.
yes, and both.
Yeah. Mhm.
I mean, and then I was like, oh yeah, she really does not want this to happen. And I had a parts integration. Our mutual like friend, colleague, not Julie, Brittany did the
Uh,
parts integration for me. And since that was like the last piece that I needed for this next level, right? For this next little like mini level. It's not like I'm at the next level. I'm just making things happen better now. But I uncovered a lot more in this breath work that I'm still
yeah.
shrinking back. Yeah.
So interesting. Okay, well, I need to see if anyone from our cohort wants to do a trade because we could give that a go. Because I mean, there are some people I think, but it doesn't matter. Like there are people. I mean, my kids might not want
Mm.
to get bigger because they don't want me to be gone more, or
Mhm.
they like me being readily. In fact, that's wild that this even came up because if anybody's on my newsletter list, my newsletter from this morning, which talks about my live show topic on Thursday, is about not being your traditional parent and wanting to go out and do things and like not sacrificing myself all the time in the name of being a good parent. And but I know enough of myself and I've done enough work to go, that can be true and that doesn't have to stop me. But then how I respond to that is the me that stops it, right? Like, oh, I
Yeah.
don't want to let anybody down, or just in general, it's scary. Like what came up for me in the breath work is such a projector thing because we have so little energy anyway, is what if I put all this time and effort in and it still doesn't work?
Mhm.
Now, the coach in me is like, well, that's how you find out, right? You got to put it out there.
Mhm.
But the projector in me is like, I'm fucking tired, man. I'm doing stuff all the time.
Yeah.
And I don't want to put the effort in if I don't think the effort is going to pay off.
Yeah. This
Bitterness.
bitterness. I know. This you could be me last month because that's what I said. The reason why I had that fear of I could put all this work in and do all the things, and it still, what if it still doesn't work out? It was only a fear because I had this unintegrated part that was making sure, like I knew it wasn't going to work out because she was there. She was sabotaging, and but she didn't. And I call her. She was just another part of me. This is not a split personality. I was, just this.
That's okay.
The people that you'll get it if you get it. She she didn't see it as
sabotage. There are lots of different parts of us inside of us that
exactly. And she didn't know she was sabotaging. She thought she was helping. She thought I had lost my mind and that she's going to keep us safe. So I'm not going to talk to her. I'm just going to make sure she never does the things should be doing. Yeah. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, this show is about being a projector, but it's really relevant. I think fascinating that you and I both found the NLP work, because there are so many societal conditions that have imprinted on us. And so like the first step is knowing like, oh, that's what that is. And then I don't want that anymore. And then what are you going to do about it? And so I think that's why the subconscious reprogramming stuff feels so impactful to me.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the whole thing is we have so much conditioning. Probably one of the most. Every type has their own conditioning, but I feel like projectors probably have the most just because of the kind of culture that we live in of go, go, go and always hustling and no days off. And
yeah, I mean, every type really does have their own shit. But yes, like that desire to, I guess I want to use the term have more energy. Like, I don't know. I just don't. That doesn't mean I'm tired all the time, but I do physically get tired easily. It's part of why I rest and read so much. Like that is rejuvenating for me.
Yeah. And also we use our brains a lot. Like we are always thinking. I don't know that projectors actually stop thinking ever.
No, and I'm a 1-3, like I was down a 1-3 rabbit hole. This is embarrassing, you guys. I'm trying to add on. I do a corporate leadership program called the Empowerment Program. I was just telling Natalie, who is a designer. She did all of this beautiful design work for our logo and stuff. And I need a badge on LinkedIn for people to claim that they have received a certification. And here's me on Canva. I cannot design my way out of a paper bag. But the 1-3 in me was not giving up. And then I'm like, it's really embarrassing.
No, I get it. But then, but we have to use our mental capacity for what we're meant to be using it for, right? I think that's the trick, because especially when you're starting out, like you're doing everything, if you're in business or, but mostly if you're like if you own your own business, you're doing everything. So like, how do you maintain that?
Yeah. I mean, even if you have help, you're in charge of everything, right?
Yeah.
It is an interesting balance. And so there has to be, for me, like coming up with a way to check the boxes that works, that fits. And it's a real challenge. And I like a sounding board. Although let's be clear, I'm only ever going to do the things that I think are the right thing to do. Like
yeah, I know I had that come up in the breath work today, was that even though I'm afraid of putting myself out there bigger, like I'm still gonna do it. Like I'm doing it anyway. Like I've always had that that thing of, if it's something I really know I should be doing, I'm gonna do it anyway.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a clinic.
So I'm just trying to think, like, one of the things we talked about doing for this is like, how in the past week what's it been like to be a projector? Where have you really noticed your projectorness in the last week? And I don't want folks watching this. We sound like we're just complaining. We're not really. I actually love being a projector. It answers so many questions for me, because that was like, you don't work hard enough. Everybody's out here hustling all the time. And what, you need a nap? And now I could be like, yeah, I need a nap. And I'm not sorry I need a nap. But how has what has life been like for you in the last week? Like, where do you see your projectorness like really shining or struggling or any of that?
Yeah, well, let's give both examples. That'll be
Okay.
fun, right? And like good and the good, bad, and the ugly.
Mhm.
I'll start with the good. The good for me is that truly that zoomed out from high above can see how to help people. And the more tools you have, the more you can pull from. But like I've been able to hone in and be like, I can see what it is that you need, and I can do that thing.
Yeah.
I can give that guidance. I can be the guide for you.
Yeah.
And then on the flip side of that, it always comes back to, I wish I could. So like for this, like we didn't put teasers out for this because, well, there were very many reasons, but like for me, my excuse was that I am launching a program. And so I had the mental and energetic capacity to promote one thing
Yeah.
at a time. And it was something that I was like, it's working, it's going great. But I still felt like, because there were other things I wanted to talk about and I just couldn't do it. Um, then I'll switch back to good again, but I'm proud of myself that I didn't force myself to overdo it. And then, because whenever I do, I get more bitter, and I can't afford bitterness right now.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't have space for that bitterness. Although what I love, do you follow Karen Curry Parker at all?
Yes.
What I appreciate, so Karen is the inventor, for lack of a better term,
Yeah.
of quantum human design. So taking everything Raharuhu did, and it goes from knowledge to doing something with it. And I appreciate her reminder that our not selves aren't our bad selves. They're
Mm,
triggers for awareness, like bitterness, when we notice it, when we don't just go down a bitterness pathway rampage, we can go, fuck, what have I been choosing that's making me bitter? And this is whenever I do a reading, I tell people, you're not self. When that feeling comes, that's you.
mm,
Nobody else did that. So you can only be upset with yourself. You have to look at your choices that led you to bitterness or frustration or whatever the different not selves are. Um
that's so good.
yeah, right, because it's an invitation to be aware and go, what I'm making choices that aren't for me. So
Mhm.
where are they and how do I shift that? Um But I love that for you, that you were able to, like, recalibrate and the focusing on one thing. Do you have an open head center?
I do.
Me too. That came up a little bit in the breath work today. I struggle to focus on one thing because I have so many wonderful things I wanna talk about
Yeah.
all the time. And then what happens is I don't talk about anything.
Yeah. Does it get too chunked up to like overwhelm for you? Yeah.
Totally, it totally does, and I have a great story. Again, need to do some subconscious reprogramming, that because I'm not a marketer and I'm not good at marketing, um, I don't know how to do it well, and so I just don't do it at all, and there's no conscious thought of, "Well, I won't do it at all." I
Yeah.
just don't do it at all. Like, I look at your stuff and Julie's stuff, and I'm like, "Why don't I think of doing it like that?" And I know you do it. I'm like, "Why can't I mirror that?" I don't know. What is
Mhm.
that? Like, I don't know if that's just, needs subconscious reprogramming or if that's a projector thing. Like,
I feel okay. No, I can relate to that. I have looked at what other people are doing, and especially when it's in your niche, like in your what you do, and
yeah,
then you're like, oh, why didn't I think of that? I could have done that. How can I get inspired by this and do something kind of like that? And then and still, I think it comes down to just like, for me, what I've found is like, if I know the very small, like specific, not small, specific targeted thing that I'm trying to do and focus on, then yes, there's a lot of possibilities out there because I do like having a lot of ideas and a lot of things too. But if I'm really focused on that one thing, then somehow it opens up my creativity to be able to talk about that one thing over and over again in different ways.
no, I love it. And I think that you're right, because we overfocus and on multiple things, and then the message is just messy, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting. So it feels weird. My projectorness in the last week. So we were on a vacation. We went on a Virgin cruise, which was really fun, and got home Wednesday afternoon. And I knew that I needed an integration day on Thursday,
Yeah.
but I didn't really have time for it because I had my graduation for my most recent cohort of empowerment on Friday. That's a 4-hour experience. So I didn't get it. And I could just tell, like, it all of a sudden 6 whole days of relaxation, and I was like
Yeah.
a mess. Um, so that little reminder that you have to prioritize that, like nothing's quite that urgent.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
like it
It's not
shouldn't
that
be.
serious. And it sounds weird to say it, but it's just not. I know.
Yeah, nothing's quite that urgent. Um, but my so not only do projectors like need a lot of rest, we need a lot of solitude.
Hmm.
And I don't know about you, but I find it very tricky as a partner and as a parent. Now, there's a silver lining to being divorced because my kids are only here half the time, and I adore it. If you're watching, sometimes my Tessa watches my lives. I love you, and I always want to be with you. But it's okay when you're gone because I find time for me. But I had to work really hard to explain to my partner that it isn't just give me space. It isn't just you're in one room and I'm in another. I actually literally need to be completely alone and do a full energetic clearing. They're like, we need to sleep alone. She's been out of town. And I'm like, oh, I get to sleep
Uh-huh.
alone. I
Yeah.
love it.
I feel that 100%. And I'm a 2-5. So I'm like, that hermit is very real for me. And yeah, my husband's leaving for a few days and I'm so excited because I get to
I love you. I will miss you. And also, please go.
please, please, thank you. Thank you for this trip. No, that's, it's hard to explain to people that don't have that same thing. Like he literally can't understand, and that's okay. It's he can't like in his body get it, but
Yeah.
like, in his mind he can. Just like I can't understand how it's Saturday morning and I roll downstairs at like 8 o'clock, which is not super late, but it's later than I normally wake up. And he's already like gone to empty the recycling and got a haircut and started a load of laundry. And I'm like, is there coffee or like, yeah. He doesn't
Yeah.
get that. So, um, but you're right. Like I mean, as a projector, if you have with your partnerships and with your kids, like what are creative, what have your clients done to get that solitude and that time for themselves?
Yeah. I mean, for me personally, I have just had to ask for it. Now, the last couple of years have been a little more challenging, but prior to that, I went on at least one, if not two, solo retreats a year. And
Mm,
I really want to get back to that, desire getting back to that. So it started as a 40-hour, like overnight. I packed this was wild. I haven't done this one since. Packed my phone and my computer in my trunk of my car. And I was like, here's the number at the hotel. If there's an emergency, call me. And I literally cut myself off from the
yeah,
outside world.
I need to do that.
It was amazing. So I had 2 nights. And what I have noticed my habits, because I've done the solo retreats a lot, but I don't always, I do like limit my access, but I don't always completely cut myself off from it. But I've gotten up to 5 days and I don't get bored and I don't get tired. I read a lot, I sleep a lot. What I've discovered is the first night, inevitably, like I'll get dinner and then by like 7 o'clock, I'm like, I'm gonna go to bed. Like all of a sudden, once your body knows that you can actually
Yeah,
rest, just like not worry about pleasing other people or any of that. Like I get so completely exhausted. And then I pace myself the next couple days and I might stay up until 3 or 4 and read a book because it's on my own terms. And,
mhm,
I
mhm.
feel rested even if I'm not getting 10 hours of sleep because I'm the only one in the room. I'm the only one in the space. I'm not picking up anybody else's energy. And I have a really open chart. So I pick up a lot of other people's energy.
Yeah, yeah, that's really I feel in my bones that I need that. I need to go away by myself.
Yeah. Can you do it?
Figure that out. I'm starting to think about it now. Like I'm gonna figure it out. Maybe you can hold me accountable to like
Oh,
figuring it out because
ask you
I
about it
will find
next
excuses. Huh?
I said we can all ask you about it next week. Like, hey,
Right.
Natalie, how's that
Have
soul?
you at least planned it? Have you like made the steps? Okay, I can do that.
Yeah. I
Thanks.
mean, it doesn't happen without planning and intention. It just
Yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah.
Like anything else, right? And that's, being a projector in a generator's world requires us to have such deep awareness and compassion for ourselves to put our feet in the sand and say, no, I don't have to do it like that.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
have to be that way in order for it to work.
Yes. And that's why it's important. Like we need to see other people doing that. We need to see other projectors doing it differently so that there's a different level of expansion when you see somebody else doing it, than being like, the books say I can, but I don't know really what that looks like.
No, I think it's true. I think it's really true. I mean, most of the time I really love it, but I do have defined root envy. And I often have defined ego envy because
Yeah.
my partner will say, I'm going to do X. And then 10 minutes later, X is done. And I say, I'm going to do X. And 2 or 3 weeks later, and she was like, did you ever do that? And I'm like, no, but I'm gonna.
Right. Is that what that is? Because that's me too. So that
Yeah.
must be the undefined ego. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the ego, for anybody watching, sometimes it's called the will, sometimes it's called the heart or the ego, all three of those. I don't know. I don't really know why it's all those different names, but yeah, they get shit done. And it's interesting because they have like a work to rest cycle. So when you see a defined ego on a generator or manifesting generator's chart, they need to be aware of the fact that they're going to hustle and they have to build in rest integration or they're going to blow out their motor because that was a motor center. So just, and they probably have learned that lesson the hard way, I would say most of the time, which is really interesting. But they get shit done and it's amazing. But at the root, I think it's the root that I want. I can't handle pressure. Drives me crazy. I don't know.
Yeah, that's my thing of like, I have a defined route now. Okay, so my question is, my question is, for people with a defined route that work with people with an undefined route that work with people with a defined route. Nope, it's the other way around. The defined route, I think, causes more problems potentially because like they'll wait till the last minute, like you experienced.
Yes, it could cause. So if you're working with somebody who doesn't like waiting until the last minute because they're undefined and they feel that pressure, the communication is really important in that area, right? And boundaries are really important. But remember, the undefined, if you're spending a lot of time together, the undefined will absorb and amplify the defined. So as long as you're communicating really clearly with people that this is going to get done right at the deadline, because that's the way I operate, but we will not be late. It will happen. They can manage their expectations and they should be okay. Now it's interesting because I have that undefined route. I cannot handle pressure, but I've also always been a procrastinator. And my very first coach, mentor, guide, who I adore, Aaron, he asked me, and this was probably 10 years ago now, he goes, what would happen if you reframed that as I do my very best work at the last minute?
Ooh, yeah.
And the truth of the matter is I do. He's like, are you missing deadlines? No. Are you getting everything done? Yes. Are you getting it done well? Yes. So I stopped expecting myself to do it early. And I would put it in my calendar for when it needed to be done.
Yeah.
And then I didn't have to stress and worry about not following through on things. So that was a really big gift to me. And I don't know how I become a procrastinator with an undefined route. I don't know. Maybe it's ADHD.
Maybe it's that. Maybe you're like amplifying it, like you said. I don't know. But
it could be.
But that makes a whole lot of, I like that reframe. I love a reframe. I just love,
Oh,
yeah, it's
me too.
one of my favorite things to do.
Me
Um,
too.
wait, did you say what your ups and downs were this past week?
I think so. I mean, my
Okay.
ups were, I started to talk a little bit more about the cruise. So,
Yeah.
my projector ups were that I had space for a lot of rest. But the down was, so this is where we got into the solitude conversation and sleeping alone.
Yeah.
On a cruise ship, there are just a couple thousand people there all the time, even like no matter what, no matter where you go. I mean, like you could be in your tiny room, but then I wasn't alone there either, right? So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I found that my capacity for patience and being near and even being touched was like zeroed
Mhm.
out by the last day. She's like wanting to hold my hand, and I'm like, I cannot be touched. You have to give me. I cannot. No, they're just it from an energetic level. Like I have
Yeah.
nothing. I just
I have nothing to
need
give you.
nothing to give you, and you want something from me, and it's not an unfair request, but I
Yeah.
just don't. I don't have it.
Yeah.
Um, and did not do a good job of communicating that. I kind of just went like
Yeah.
please don't.
Yeah.
Because it feels personal to the people on the other end, and
Right.
it's not personal.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
ever get like that where you're just like,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's not so much on like, well, I guess it can be with the touching thing too, but just like, stop talking. Stop talking to me. I can't, I can't take it anymore. Stop it.
yeah,
Yeah.
yes,
That's mine.
yeah, good
Very,
one.
very, very often. Ugh.
I love it. But I on Thursday and Friday, I allowed myself to take those 12-minute naps, the one in the car I mentioned earlier on Friday. And on Thursday, I was like, I have overdone it today. We just got back and I'm overwhelmed. And I allowed put on a subliminal hypno breath work. And I was like, I've got to rest. And that
Mhm.
works. Like I come back feeling better. Um, and then for me, because I'm so if anybody knows the arrows on your chart, I'm a right facing upper left arrow, which means I do not like structure and routine. And so having a slower morning, even if I have to get up early, getting up early enough to have a slower morning helps me feel rested. But if I have to get right up and rush, I don't feel rested. And this morning I was in a REM cycle when my alarm went off, which is really unusual. And I was, you're paralyzed. I couldn't get up.
Yeah.
So I hit snooze, which I never do.
Yeah.
And 9 minutes later, and then I only had like 12 minutes to get up and get dressed and get my oldest kid to school,
Hmm.
which was really overwhelming. Um, and so I kind of have been dragging all day. And I can see those things and I can tell how it
Yeah.
affects.
So all of my arrows point left except for the motivation one.
Really?
Yeah. So that also, I feel like that also might be where I have the illusion of having more energy than most projectors.
Yeah, I think so. Or more focus or whatever it is. Like
Yeah.
you just look like you're always like busting stuff out and it always impresses me. And I'm like, I don't
But
think
there's there's definitely, and I felt it today. I can feel my body. I can feel that I need to, like, it's a little, not burnout. It's not burnout like I used to feel, but just like you're just not taking care of yourself, your body, your physical body as much as you need to.
Yep.
And it's not about like exercise and like that. It's like relaxing, like being in the opposite nervous, like a calmer nervous system,
Yeah.
the
Yep.
rest and digest. I need to do better there.
Rest and digest, not just
That's
your
why, like, I feel like, it was such a good hypno breath work today, and it was for big money months, right? And so people are like, I'm going to go put out my new offer. I'm going to go do, my intuition said, just be.
Mm,
I pictured myself outside doing nothing. It's like, okay, well,
I mean, mine was water. I just
yeah,
kept saying water. I'm like, oh, I need to I've done water branding for my alchemy incubator, which is my
yeah,
10th and big coaching experience. But bringing in more water. And I think it is because it does feel like a connection to alchemy, a connection to emotions. It feels
Mhm.
very projectory, right?
Yeah.
To flow, right? We ebb and we flow and we rest, and
Yeah.
it's secular. That was weird too. I always feel like I never have the right answers at the end of those sessions. Like I should
Same.
have a better action item.
I know, like my action should be to go, I don't know, like pitch myself to somebody or something, but that's not what came up. It was like, no, you're just supposed to, it's like, it's literally telling me to be more of myself, like be seen as me, relax into it. And another thing that came through was like, let them come in, let them go out. They're going to come in, they're going to go out. That kind of sounds like water too, right? Flow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
I really love that.
So I'm trying because now I'm trying, right? Trying is doing. So I'm doing it. I'm working on more of that surrender, and it's going to come. Just, I know what I need to do the things I know. And then when I don't know, it's okay. I don't know. It's going to come. It's going to go. It's going to come. It's going to go, you know?
Absolutely. And it's that knowledge, right? That I think I find the most comforting is it's gonna come and go. It's gonna come again.
Yeah.
And I what showed up for me in the session today a lot was um hiding, but I've been trying to differentiate, am I hiding or am I resting?
Yeah.
Sometimes that can get confusing. Am
Hmm.
I hiding or am I resting? Um Both, maybe, but I do think it can get a little tricky. Like,
What just came to me was like, do the unblocking work that you can, and also rest, because then you'll know. Like if it's hiding, then that's a block. And then if you work on releasing that block, and then you'll be able to differentiate better if you're like when you're resting, because those other action things might just come to you like, oh yeah, I'm going to do that now. Whereas before you might have hid from it, you know?
yeah. Oh, I love that. Yeah. I love this. We've gone over, no surprise. I mean, I think we can do whatever we want to do. Itai says hi. Um, I love
Hi.
Itai. I'm glad you're here. Um, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So
That's
how do
good.
we end these?
I don't know. Do we need a tagline? You guys want to help us? Should we go rawr?
Yeah. Roar. And then also,
Now it's nap time.
yeah, now we're gonna go take a nap, and we'll see you next week. I don't know. We'll figure that part out.
Let's come up with a little tagline. But I'm glad there've been a few folks who've stuck around. You can always make comments. You guys can ask questions. We're just here to talk. We're just here to talk about what it's like being a projector out there in the wild and have some fun. And obviously, I was actually going to try and like make myself look a little cute, but I went down my 1-3 rabbit hole with designing this terrible badge, and I was like, oh, okay.
It's all good. I love us. I love this. It's gonna be perfect just as it is. We don't have to be pretentious or make it anything else. You know, it's just gonna be what
I
it is.
agree. I love it. All right. Well, my friend, I'll see you next Monday,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we'll do this again.
yeah. You
Okay.
got it. I'll be
Bye.
here. Bye.